Arizona. Nightmare on 13th, Salt Lake City, Utah. Urbus Haunted House in Pontiac in Michigan. 13th Floor, San Antonio, Texas. Number 7 is Spooky World in New England. Number 8 is the Dent Schoolhouse in Cincinnati in Ohio. Then number 9, Spooky Woods, Archdale, North Carolina. Number 10, Nightmare on the Bayou in Houston, Texas. Headless Horseman is number 11 at Ulster Park, New York State. The Bates Motel, Glen Mills in Pennsylvania, number 12. And number 13 is Neverweld in Norcross, Atlanta in Georgia. But not only do the Americans do Halloween great and very entertainingly, the Canadians do too. And nightmares will be coming to life as Canada's Wonderland opens its gate for the 12th annual Halloween Haunt. And it's open now. It opened on the 30th of September. The Halloween Haunt is Canada's biggest playground of terror and features 20 haunted attractions, including horrifying mazes, scare zones, live shows and thrilling rides in the dark. It's expanding its realm of fear even further this year with 3 new scare zones. Guests even will face bone-chilling sights when they visit Cryohazard, an aftermath of a science experience gone terribly wrong. The Plague, where a once peaceful village is now infected with a grisly virus. And Trick or Treat, where heinous trick-or-treaters are not only out for candy, they're also out for blood. Adding to Halloween Haunt's Evening of Terror, their 3 live shows include the new all-wickedly crafted Sinner's Lounge, which is a dark circuit spectacular showcasing incredible feats of athleticism and horror, and probably make me ill. It's open for 15 horrible nights between the 30th of September and Monday the 31st of October from 7 p.m. until midnight. And its Halloween Haunt is designed to scare and therefore it's not recommended to anybody under the age of 13 or at the moment the age of 49. That's just me, honest. And most park and rides and attractions will be in operation. And just to spoil it a little bit, guests are not permitted to attend the event in costume. I guess that's for health and safety reasons. If you want to know more about it and find out how you're going to get there, go to canadaswonderland.com/haunt. Slightly more cuddly now, and there's a new Rhine River sailing. It's the latest addition to Adventures by Disney River Cruise portfolio, and this allows travellers to savour the unique culinary history of 4 countries. And this is from 2017. Adventures by Disney is expanding with Amma Waterways, and it's offering an extended second season of cruises along Europe's Danube River, as well as launching new sailings along the Rhine River. The cruise company's announced an addition of food and wine themed sailing along the Rhine River for next year's as well, so you can get really overweight when you're on a cruise. So it's offering extraordinary food and beverage experiences both on and off the ship, and it's an adult exclusive holiday, and it sails from Basel, Switzerland on 21st of October 2017, and it has the following highlights if you really want to have food on your cruise. You can learn about wine tasting and blending during vineyard tours and onboard seminars, hosted by Brian Kozol, who's one of only 230 master sommeliers in the world. You can share in the history and culinary mastery even of authentic dishes of Europe during the intimate gourmet demonstrations and workshops from the culinary director for Disneyland Resort, John State. You can stroll through parts of France on a walking tour that incorporates local gastronomic delights, including sausages and macaroons. Discover the art of the Strasbourg speciality, tarte flambe, and there's classes as well, and you can try some local beers and wine. And there's an hands-on French patisserie class in Strasbourg. And finally, I'm going to mention for this is a tour of the Heineken factory, if that's that sort of thing you're into. The Rhine Adventures, this is the latest of the expansion from Adventures by Disney, and there's now 15 sailings along Europe's Danube and Rhine rivers next year. And if you want to know more about it, speak to your travel agent, or you could visit adventuresbydisney.com, which of course is aimed at American people, but you may be able to book that too. If you've been on a river cruise, I'd really like to know what it's like. The only river cruises I did as a travel agent were the Nile. I'd be interested to see how you got on, what you felt about it, if you can compare it to an ocean cruise. Please do let me know. Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show.
Hey Dave, it's your round, mate.
Yeah, my throat's drier than the Gobi Desert.
All right. Beers all round, yeah? OK, which one of you jokers has got my wallet?
Well, I haven't got it. God, he'll do anything to save a few quid.
Yeah, that's right. He's always had short arms and long pockets.
Seriously, guys, someone's nicked it from my bag.
If you lose your wallet, passport or tickets while you're on holiday, your mates winding you up will be the least of your worries. Keep your valuable stuff locked up safely when you don't need it. And if you're on the beach or by the pool, only take the cash you need.
For more information, go to gov.uk/knowbeforeyougo or follow us on Facebook or Twitter.
You're listening to The Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. A travel news story now, and when I first come across this I thought it was a little bit off. I thought it was strange. I don't know why this sort of thing happens. But I'm not sure about you. You might think this is perfectly okay and it should be done. But you better make your mind up soon when we get to the end of the story. But it's all about body scanners in America. And there's been a lawsuit that's challenging the TSA, who do airport security, to prove that body scanners aren't killing people. What do you mean killing people? Well, you're going to find out in a sec. And when the Transport Safety Administration was rolling out the brand new body scanning machines back in 2010, the response about it from the public was pretty much as you would expect. 94% of people who commented on the policy opposed it. Not that it made much difference to the TSA, where the cost and technical issues didn't bother it before they put them in, so why should the views of the customers? Apparently, there were 5,129 public comments opposing body scanners in airports, and around 80 of those who commented said they would never fly again if the scanners were put in place. One person who wrote said if they would prefer to drive across the country twice instead of being subjected to what is clearly a violation of privacy by this intrusive form of airport passenger inspection. Well, today that passenger might be dead. And even if they're not, the TSA's use of body scanners has increased the likelihood, however minutely, that somebody is dead. It's a use of stats which has meant there's been a lawsuit filed against the TSA by Ian Murray and Mark Scribner, research fellows at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. This was filed last week in the DC Circuit Court of Appeals, and both of them argue that the TSA knew its body scanners would cause some segments of the public to switch from flying to driving, creating a safety issue because flying is mathematically safer form of transportation than driving. Despite that knowledge, the TSA didn't do the math to determine how many people might die because they wanted to avoid having the TSA agents see pictures of their naked forms. The two looked at research by economists at Cornell University showing that a decline in 1 million passengers on planes would lead to an additional 15 fatalities on highways across the USA. Combining that with data about how many Americans fly every year, and mixing in the fact that an estimated 1.5% of people, based on the comments of the TSA's policy shift, would rather drive than go through the body scanners, they had the ability to determine, in a very rough way, very was my word, they just called it rough, how many people over the last 6 years might have died because they didn't want to fly because of the scanners. If this all sounds a little bit theoretical, then it's because it is. The lawsuit isn't claiming that anybody in particular has been harmed by the scanners, merely that the TSA didn't do the proper amount of math before rolling out the machines into airports and making passengers queue up for them. And why do you think this is important? Well, it turns out the United States government does these sorts of assessments of theoretical trade-offs all the time. One example is the federal rules for taking small children on planes. Under current regulations, parents are allowed to take children under 2 years old onto planes without buying a separate ticket and without putting the child in a seatbelt. Occasionally that puts kids' lives at risk, mostly from severe turbulence rather than actual plane crashes. About 20 years ago, the Federal Aviation Authority considered banning these so-called lap children, requiring separate seats for them. Then they did the maths, and they found that making a policy change would lead to many more parents of young children choosing to drive instead of fly. So for every life saved by requiring small children to wear seatbelts on planes, there would have been an additional 16 fatalities on the road, according to the maths. Somebody's got some weird jobs. You always thought maths wasn't important when you were at school, didn't you? So, apparently, according to the suit, by not doing the analysis, the TSA is in violation of American law. And it's quite interesting, I suppose, but it's not something that's going to be resolved anytime soon, and it'll probably be sometime late next year before there's a ruling. For what it's worth, the TSA said the whole thing is too much maths for them to handle. But the reality is, when it comes to security, there's always trades-offs, and understanding these trades-offs is essential in knowing whether invasive security measures are worth it. I wonder what trade-off they did for the 100 millilitre liquids rule, but we're never going to find out. Anyway, sticking with safety for now, the British Standards Institute has published a new code of practice that advises companies on how to address and manage the safety and security risks employees face while they're travelling. Developed in association with security risk company International SOS, the Travelling for Work Responsibilities of an Organisation for Health, Safety and Security Code of Practice, actually known as PAS 3001, gives practical advice for travel buyers who want to better manage employees when they're travelling. It also offers recommendations how to develop, implement and evaluate issues such as travel safety, health and security policy, threat and hazard identification, prevention strategies and incident management. The new code can be used by any organisation with travellers, whether they're workers, volunteers or contractors, subcontractors or students. It's also applicable for business that provide health and safety and security assistance to other companies. And it can be on its own or integrated into existing systems. The BSI have outlined the benefits of implementing PAS 3001, and they say it reduced costly interruptions to business activities and allowing for the development of new opportunities which otherwise would have been lost, generating a positive return on investment, reducing exposure to criminal liability and reputational damage while enhancing corporate image, improving worker motivation through the worker's perception of a safe and healthy working environment. So there we go, 2 stories on safety, both involving a lot of paperwork. Does your company mean that you have to travel a lot? What's the policy? Do you think it's a good one? You can let me know anonymously if you wish. I'm interested to know what companies do when it comes to making their employees travel around the world or just the country. Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. You can also post your comments on the suit against the TSA. Do you think it's just some people trying to earn an extra bit of legal cash, or do you think there is some legitimacy to it? Again, Facebook page is John Guinn Travel Show. You can follow me on Twitter @holiday_hut. In a few moments, I'm going to be talking about some news from Scotland from the Scottish Tourist Board. And if you're wondering what the noise is in the background of the recording, I've decided to do more roadworks outside the studio. And whenever I pause for a moment, this roadwork stops. As soon as I press record again, the roadwork starts again. I think they got a bug or something in my room, my studio, and they know what I'm doing. I wouldn't put it past them, the sly so-and-sos. But anyway, before the stories about Scotland, I'm talking about air rage, and there was the International Air Transport Association, IATA, come up with a report and says that the incidence of unruly passengers on planes is increasing, and it's calling for more effective deterrents to tackle the problem. The incidents have been rising almost consistently since 2007, when IATA first began tracking the issue. In 2007, airlines reported 339 instances. 2015, 10,854 air rage incidences were reported by airlines worldwide. And that was an increase from 9,316 in 2014. And somebody's done the maths, and it works out there's one incident for every 1,205 flights, which is an increase from one incident per 1,282 flights in 2014. Majority of the incidents involve verbal, imagine not being able to say verbal, how coincidental or ironic, depending on how you use English grammar. Failure to follow crew instructions and other antisocial behaviour as well. 11% included physical aggression towards passengers or crew or damage to the plane. 23% had the factor of alcohol with drugs, and the vast majority of incidents involving drugs or